Getting all this stuff on is a lot of work.
Cavers fiercely protect unique caves. Most entrances are gated and the locations kept secret.
The Cave Resources Protection Act requires us to not divulge the location of caves. That's a really important thing because so many caves have been vandalized and we can't gate every single cave.
In a new cave, I don't know what I'm going to find 3 feet from here. I don't know if I need any rope or a lot of rope.
Unrepelled.
I don't know if I'm going to be swimming or crawling or climbing.
Now the other thing you need to do is look down and find the end of the rope.
Yet other than the deep ocean, there is nothing on the surface of the world as unknown, as mysterious, as potentially complicated as caving is.
When you go into that different ecosystem, you come out a little bit different. You have a little bit of a different viewpoint about maybe your role on the planet or about how water moves in the subsurface and where your water comes from, or there's something that you take away with you.
Do be careful, the rock's a little loose and slick around here.
Wild caving can be dangerous if you're not prepared for it. So you need to make sure to follow all the safety rules, make sure to carry all the proper gear with you, make sure to have your backup party, and just be really prepared for what you're going into, know what you're getting into.
Join us on a journey of discovery and adventure as we explore Idaho's deep, dark Middle Earth.
Funding for Outdoor Idaho is made possible by the Friends of Idaho Public Television, by the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moores' legacy of helping to build the great state of Idaho, and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Archaeologists tell us this was home to some of Idaho's earliest residents, more than 14,000 years ago. Wilson Butte Cave. It's a lava tube cave, one of many along the Snake River Plain. Hi, I'm Bruce Reichert, and welcome to Outdoor Idaho. You know, these dark holes in the earth, they capture our imagination, they expand our understanding of science, and they even provide us with adventure. To our ancestors, though, these caves were prime real estate, and very likely a place to watch the fireworks at nearby craters of the moon. The ancient eruptions here resulted in hundreds of caves worming into the lava fields. Most are unknown or too remote for public access. Many of the better-known caves in Idaho are developed into show caves, the ones with lights and walkways, like the Indian Ice Caves in south-central Idaho, and Mammoth Cave, a half-mile-long lava tube just down the highway. Privately owned, the quirky roadside attractions may question authenticity, but the lava caves are real, and the experience is unique to Idaho. Along the Idaho-Utah border, a different type of show cave draws visitors from the Bear Lake area. Minnetonka, a magnificent limestone solution cave, was developed as a Depression-era public works project in the late 1930s. Minnetonka, a Native American word meaning falling water, has walkways extending a half-mile into the mountain. The features are impressive and captivating. And then there are wild caves. With no walkways, no lights, and potential hazards around every corner. But for those who relish a tight squeeze, pitch-black darkness, and the mystery of exploration, wild caves are a passion. In the high desert of southern Idaho, there are more than 300 documented wild lava caves.
Do be careful, the rock's a little loose and slick around here.
But only a few are gated and protected.
Out here, we're probably not going to have too many more lava flows, at least in our lifetime. And so you damage something in a lava tube cave, it's going to stay damaged for the rest of its life.
Keep your eye on the ceiling here.
Lava caves or lava tubes are formed by volcanic flows. The outer layer of lava will harden as it's exposed to air, but the lava underneath will sometimes remain molten and flow out, leaving a hollow tube. This whole area was once part of the North American hotspot.
As the North American plate has migrated across that hotspot in the Earth's core, it has led to a lot of volcanic activity, different types of flows, and various other activity, geologic activity that has taken place.
The Bureau of Land Management oversees these caves, but it's the grotto members who visit them the most. Exploring a wild cave can be dangerous if you don't know what you're doing.
You're in there on your own where there isn't any sort of structure in place like paved trails or lights or even a guide or something. At the most, you might have a map that somebody before you has made showing you where it's going, but for the most portion, you don't even know where the passages go in the cave. It's always best when you're going into a cave is to take an experienced caver with you.
Everybody's sliding down.
You can't call in air ambulance, you can't call anybody. You're inside a cave and you're really in there alone.
When you're coming through here, that rock that you see right up here in the ceiling is loose. You don't want to be touching that.
Okay.
And there's two different ways people go through. Either they'll go through on their stomach over the top of this, or they'll drop their legs down in and go under the bottom.
I think I'll drop my legs in.
Okay. If this rock did happen to fall and block this passage, we have a backup party that if I'm not back to the surface and have them called by 10 o'clock tonight, they're going to initiate a rescue.
After about 100 feet of crawling and squeezing, the cave opens up into a large room.
So you see all this on the ceiling here? This is where lava's flowed through here and melted the ceiling and has started dripping down and then solidified. And they're called lava sickles or lava stalactites.
This cave is cool and dry. It splits off into 3 separate passages, but a marked path leads the way to the most decorated area.
We have red going into the cave and white reflective markers coming out. And we do that so that you know that red is dead if you keep going in the cave, white is light, will lead you out of the cave into the light.
Some lava tubes can extend for miles. The total surveyed passage in this one is about 3,000 feet.
Okay, we're coming up on the area it's known as a formation room that's going to have the really significant formations in this cave. But the ceiling is very low, and the entire ceiling and all the floors and all the walls, everything is covered with formations. So in order for us to know better where our head and stuff is, we take off our helmets in here and carry them through. I'm a very visual person, so a lot of it for me is the visual aspect of seeing these things, seeing the structures and the formations and the crystals and the colors and stuff. It's just amazing. Okay, we've entered in a really great formation area of this cave. And as if you've taken a look around, you don't see any real black of the lava rock. It's all sort of browns and whites and grays. This is actually all secondary mineral deposits. The Lost River Range over by Limhi and stuff is a dolomite rock, which is a type of limestone. And that dust is blown off and settled in the desert out here. And then that is dissolved by rainwater and leached through the ground, and it's redeposited in these formations here. A lot of this we call cave coral. You can see the entire floor, wall, ceiling is all covered in it.
Near the end of this passage, about 500 feet into the cave, is the most impressive feature of all, the 3 sentinels.
These are actually the largest extrusion spires in the continental U.S. As you can see as we walk by, they're close to 6 feet tall. What's happened is lava is actually floating underneath of the floor, and as it presses down, it extrudes this hot lava through it, and it builds up just like a volcano would. This one is totally black, this one is sort of black and gray, and that one is sort of a brownish color. That's because of the airflow coming in through that passage that we just saw. All of the secondary minerals are being deposited here, and as you get further in here, these are being blocked from that wind, so they're not getting as much deposits on them. The wonders that are seen in caves, the mineral formations and deposits, just can't be seen anywhere else. One of the main reasons I like to go in caves is very few people have gone in caves, so it's a place I can go where no other living human has ever seen this before.
Hundreds of miles north, a wild limestone cave burrows deep into the mountain. For thousands of years, dense undergrowth hid the cave, until a hunting party stumbled upon it in 1959. Within a few years, the first official expedition party explored the cave. What they found was considered so special and significant that the Forest Service installed a locked gate to protect it.
So I think most caves are worth protecting, some obviously more than others, and this one meets the criteria the Forest Service has, or the government has, for a significant cave, which is something we're required to manage and have a management plan for.
We'll be coming in the lower entrance, and very soon after the twilight zone is the gate and the register.
The Forest Service works with associations like the Gemstade Grotto to protect and manage this cave. The location and name are not advertised to protect the public as much as the cave, but experienced cavers are allowed to enter with permission.
It's a very challenging environment. Not many people are capable of going into this cave and coming out in one piece. That's probably the best protection that there is for the cave.
For many years, this cave was considered one of the deepest alpine solution caves in North America. Since its discovery, teams of cavers have explored the darkness to map and uncover its secrets. More than 3 miles of passageway dropping to a depth of 800 feet below the surface is documented to date. Tomorrow, the team will perform routine inspections and gather data for analysis. This will be the first visit by the Forest Service National Cave Program Coordinator.
Outside of the science and mystery of it and just not knowing where the cave is going, I also enjoy the physicality of it, the activity of it. And this cave is a vertical cave. It's it's a colder cave. I generally enjoy the rope work underground, so I'm looking forward to that. And we've been stewards of this particular cave for quite some time, especially under this management plan. And I'm looking forward to looking at monitoring the condition of the cave and the resources.
A roadside camp not far from the cave serves as home base for 2 nights.
It's not freeze-dried.
Together, this team has explored hundreds of caves around the world. Experience is essential for tomorrow's journey underground.
This cave is very complicated. It's a substantial physical challenge as well because it's quite deep and you are descending all the way all day long down into the cave, and then when it's time to come back, every step is uphill all the way back to the camp. And so that makes it a challenge.
This cave ranks as one of the more dangerous caves that I've been in because of the temperatures, the vertical aspect, the rope work. We try to take precautions to keep it safe.
A small caver's backpack holds all the essential items for a long day underground.
Because this cave is wet, this is at least a partially waterproof pack. The first thing on top of the bag is just what I might have to get to first. This side organizes all my emergency lights. I have 2 flashlights, a headlight to replace this one if something were to happen to it. You're entirely dependent on your light. Without your light, you are just horribly handicapped. You're just not equipped. Human beings are not equipped to deal with a broken climbing type environment with no light at all. It's darker than you've ever experienced in your surface life. And so we carry 3 lights just to make sure we have plenty of redundancy. We have a map of the cave, which you can see is quite complicated.
Other essential items include snacks and food, water, extra clothing, a first aid kit, and...
Because this is a unique biologic environment, we don't want human waste, either liquid or solid, to change the biology. And so we have to be prepared to carry out all the liquid and solid waste.
Caves are very fragile resources. Just stepping into a cave, we provide nutrients and all sorts of things to the environment that weren't there before. So the minute you step into a cave that's never been visited, you create an impact.
Morning sun welcomes the hikers. Once inside the cave, they won't see daylight again for about 10 hours. If you don't know the way to the cave, you probably won't find it. The location is off-trail and through challenging terrain of fallen trees, brush, and stinging nettle, a natural deterrent. The cool, grotto-like entrance is welcome after the bushwhack through the forest. The cave maintains a constant temperature of 35 degrees, and with runoff from an active stream above, humidity levels hover around 100%. Under these conditions, hypothermia is a real concern. So the cave ensemble includes a warm wicking layer under a water-repellent jumpsuit and rubber boots to keep the feet dry.
So we've got this harness on because we're going to do several rappels, and these two objects are rope clamps that slide up the rope and then allow me to stand in these foot loops in order to climb back up the rope, because anything we rappel down, we have to come back up to get out of the cave. The helmet is the last bit of protective equipment, and it provides both a protection to your head and a place for your headlight to mount, so where you're looking, you're able to see and leave your hands free, something that a flashlight wouldn't do for you.
Getting all this stuff on is a lot of work, but it's important to get all your gear on correctly.
The original culvert pipe that gated the entrance to the cave lies nearby.
You used to crawl through this culvert, and the spider there was locked inside the culvert, and that prevented you from sliding through. The problem with that kind of a gate is that you can't move a litter through it. And so the gate has been replaced with one that's both bat-friendly and easier for a rescue situation.
The spacing between the bars is designed so bats can fly through to roost or hibernate.
The numbers of bats each year will vary, and that may be weather conditions, it may be just the health of the population, it may be that bats choose alternate roosts in different years.
A disease called white nose syndrome is devastating bat populations in the eastern United States and Canada. It's estimated that nearly 6 million bats have died from the disease over the past decade.
We have not seen it here yet. There are a lot of the agencies and cavers are taking a lot of precautions, not using their gear in western caves that's been in eastern caves. There are decontamination protocols in effect.
We're doing everything that we can, and the caving community is doing everything that they can to minimize that risk so that we aren't spreading it.
Not only are bats an important part of the ecosystem, they are also a sort of mascot to the caving community.
Learn more about bats and learn more about these creatures that we don't know very much about but are rapidly disappearing, and do what you can to protect them.
Just inside the gate, Jim signs the group into the register.
So the register is a really important thing to help the Forest Service or whatever agency's managing a cave keep track of usage and what kind of events might occur on a trip, and to know who to talk to in the event something might have happened.
Today's goal is to get about 500 feet underground, more than halfway into the cave. The map keeps the cavers on point. A wrong turn could cost them hours.
This is the top of the 25-foot drop. It's the first rappel in the cave. It's also known as the ladder drop. There used to be an aluminum ladder here.
The clumsy aluminum drop ladder is long gone, replaced by ropes secured to heavy bolts. The sound of trickling water filters up from below as Bob prepares to rappel.
On rappel.
The team drops one by one into the crack. It's dark, damp, cold, and eerie, but also breathtaking and remarkable.
So this cave is a heavily faulted block of limestone, lots of fractures. Acidic rainwaters will dissolve the limestone along those fractures and create a fairly complex network of tall canyon-like passage. I think one of the things that makes it interesting for a geologist is it's like an X-ray of the rock. You're looking at the rock from the inside.
Each passage and room has a unique name: Valhalla, Satori, Wetway, Atlantis, and more. No one area is like the other. Some are dry as a bone, others an obvious channel for water. A passage called the Main Line leads to the next rappel.
The geology is really interesting. It's limestone with a lot of cobbles of granite, basalt, andesite, rhyolite, a lot of volcanic rocks.
As water recedes in the cave, new passages have emerged. And for a caver who specializes in mapping, this can be exciting news.
When I first started caving, we were mapping caves, and to me, to document the extent and to see where it went and not knowing where the cave moves within a landscape, and then learning about the speleogenesis, the process of formation of the cave, from documenting and from mapping, to me was just so fascinating. That whole process of creating the map and drawing the map was interesting, but also, you know, the draw of the unknown. You know, as you're working through the cave, as you're mapping the cave, just the darkness beyond and where does it go? And then somebody pops through into a really big room and you know that no one's ever been there before. And how many people get to do that?
Jim ties in a rope for the second vertical descent of the cave, a 40-foot drop that is often a waterfall.
Water levels can change because of the amount of snowpack, the amount of precipitation, or oftentimes if the stream course has been altered, where the stream is perched above the cave entrance. Occasionally it will breach the banks and more of the stream will be captured by the cave.
But on this early summer day, the water is low and easy enough to rappel around.
I've heard that when the water's high, it actually cascades off the sides of the channel up at the top of the waterfall. So I think it would be pretty epic to see it at high flow.
Within a few hours, they arrive at the sand room. Now more than 300 feet underground, the team takes a welcome break.
It's unique in this part of the cave because it's dry and quiet and there's no wind here. Almost every party coming into the cave pauses here to assess their condition and to eat and to plan what they're going to do next. If anyone were to be in trouble, this is where we would expect to find them.
A cache of survival gear and food is kept here for an emergency situation. This room also houses a monitoring device.
We'll download the data from this device onto the computer and be able to look at a graph of the temperature and humidity throughout the year.
That's the right one, yeah. Look down.
From the sand room, they make their way through the Satori Passage. With the floor some 20 feet below, they choose handholds and footholds carefully. The walls are covered with formations.
It's full of what we call speleothems, which are secondary formations, where calcite is being redeposited on the cave walls and in formations such as stalactites and soda straws, popcorn, and those sorts of things. It's very beautiful, and it's definitely one of the areas that we look at trying to protect within the cave environment because of these special features.
For thousands of years, acidic water streaming over the rock left behind calcium carbonate, creating this drapery flowstone. As water and air ebb and flow, soda straws and stalactites develop and grow. A 70-foot rappel into what cavers call Puberty Pit brings the team to 500 feet below ground. They've now reached the midpoint of the cave. With no clock or light, the day slips away. But now it's time to start the long climb back out of the cave. They want to reach the surface before nightfall.
Caves have an impact on people. When you go into that different ecosystem, you come out a little bit different. You have a little bit of a different viewpoint about maybe your role on the planet, or about how water moves in the subsurface and where your water comes from, or there's something that you take away with you.
Funding for Outdoor Idaho is made possible by the Friends of Idaho Public Television, by the Laura Moore Cunningham Foundation, committed to fulfilling the Moores legacy of helping to build the great state of Idaho, and by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.